Welcome to our channel Psyverge. Why is it that so many people move through life like pieces on someone else's chessboard? Why do we hesitate to take control, to speak up, to act boldly? Why do we second-guess ourselves, shrink our ambitions, and apologize for wanting more? From the very beginning, you were taught to play small. Not because it's noble, but because it's convenient for someone else. The truth is, you were programmed to be weak. Not physically, not even intellectually, but psychologically. And if you don't unlearn it, it'll quietly control every decision you make, every opportunity you pass up, and every version of yourself you could have become, but didn't. Niccolò Machiavelli, often misunderstood as a ruthless manipulator, actually offers us a chillingly clear mirror to the world we live in. His work isn't about cruelty, it's about clarity. He stripped away the comforting illusions society feeds us and showed what power, influence, and control actually look like. And once you see what he saw, once you understand the logic behind it, you'll realize just how many of your beliefs were never truly yours. They were installed, rehearsed, repeated, rewarded, until obedience felt like virtue and ambition felt like arrogance. Think back to childhood. What were you praised for? Being quiet, polite, agreeable? You were told that selflessness is noble, that sacrifice is holy, and that humility is the path to goodness. But none of that builds power. None of that prepares you for a world where the bold win and the passive serve. You were taught to share when others took, to say sorry when others disrespected you, to wait your turn in a game where others skipped the line. Why? Because systems, whether they're schools, churches, or governments, don't run well when people think for themselves. They run smoothly when people conform. So from the start, your fire was dimmed, not extinguished, just smothered, controlled, shaped. Machiavelli's logic pulls that curtain back. He asks a brutal question. Is it better to be loved or feared? Not because he's sadistic, but because he understood the psychology of influence. Being loved is pleasant. Being feared is effective, and in a world that often pretends morality and power go hand in hand, he forces us to confront something darker. What if the people who rise aren't the most moral, but the most strategic? What if weakness isn't a virtue, but a vulnerability? Society programs you to believe that wanting power makes you corrupt, that if you seek influence, you're dangerous, that if you speak your mind unapologetically, you're arrogant or aggressive. But that belief is planted to keep you docile. A strong, ambitious, independent person is harder to control, harder to predict. They don't sit quietly. They don't wait. They take. Now, that doesn't mean becoming cruel. Machiavelli never said, be evil. He said, understand how the world works, and act accordingly. He wrote for leaders in dangerous times. And in truth, you live in a world not so different. A world full of masks. Niceness that hides manipulation. Rules that only apply to the powerless. Expectations designed to benefit those who set them. In that kind of world, blind goodness isn't just ineffective, it's suicidal. Think about how often you hesitate to ask for what you deserve. How often you water down your words, soften your tone, or smile when you're angry, just to make others comfortable. That's not kindness. That's fear. Fear of being rejected. Fear of being disliked. Fear of being seen as too much. And who benefits from your fear? Those who stay ahead while you stay polite. Undoing that programming means reclaiming your right to want, your right to speak directly, to set boundaries without guilt, to stop apologizing for existing. Machiavelli understood that strength isn't about dominating others. It's about not letting others dominate you. The person who can say no without flinching, who can stand alone without begging for approval, who can play the long game without needing immediate validation, that person is powerful. Not because they manipulate others, but because they've deprogrammed themselves from needing permission. But let's get brutally honest. Are you really free, or are you just well-behaved? Because there's a difference. Freedom isn't about being allowed. It's about choosing, without asking first. Most people don't live. They comply. They wait to be chosen, approved, accepted. They base their worth on whether others clap. But Machiavelli would ask, why should your life be in the hands of others' opinions? Why should your identity depend on collective comfort? He wrote, "It is better to act and repent than not to act and regret." Most people never even get to that choice. They're too paralyzed by what if. What if they don't like me? What if I fail? What if I'm judged? But the deeper question is this. What if you betray yourself just to be liked? What if you succeed by everyone else's standards, but feel dead inside because none of it was truly yours? The path to strength is not loud. It starts in silence, where you begin to question the voice in your head that tells you to stay small. Who put that voice there? Who taught you to shrink, to overthink, to play nice even when you're bleeding? That wasn't your instinct. That was training, and you can untrain it. You can rewire it. Machiavelli believed the prince, the person with power, must learn to navigate appearances. Not because appearances are truth, but because they control perception. And perception, in human psychology, is reality. The one who controls the narrative controls the outcome. That's why so many people lose. They're right, but invisible. They're honest, but ignored, because they don't understand the game. To win in this world, you have to stop thinking it's fair. You have to stop assuming your goodness will be recognized just because it exists. It won't. You have to position yourself. Be strategic. Learn when to speak and when to hold silence like a blade. Learn when to be gentle and when to be iron. Learn how to move without needing a spotlight. The quiet ones who know the game don't need applause. They need results. You weren't born weak, but you were made to believe that strength is dangerous. That's the lie. Strength isn't about harming others. It's about refusing to let them harm you. It's about clarity, self-respect, and the will to act without flinching. It's not about being feared by everyone. It's about never fearing yourself, your thoughts, your needs, your ambition, your voice. The moment you stop seeking permission is the moment you begin to live. The moment you stop apologizing for wanting more is when you start becoming dangerous. Not in a harmful way, but in a liberating one. Because when you're no longer dependent on praise, control slips through society's fingers. They can't bribe you with compliments. They can't manipulate you with guilt. They can't control you with fear. That's what Machiavellian logic gives you. Not cruelty, but clarity. Not arrogance, but self-possession. It teaches you to see the world as it is, not as you were told it was. And once you see clearly, weakness becomes a choice, one you no longer have to make. The world doesn't need another obedient soul. It needs more awake ones. Not rebels without cause, but thinkers who aren't afraid to question everything, even the rules they were raised with. The strongest people don't scream. They decide. They don't ask, "Am I allowed?" They ask, "Is this worth it?" And if it is, they move. So now, ask yourself, what part of you have you been holding back to stay likable? What dreams have you delayed to seem humble? What truths have you swallowed just to avoid conflict? You don't have to live like that anymore. Undoing the programming doesn't happen overnight. It's not about waking up one day and suddenly being fearless, powerful, or untouchable. It's about daily choices, subtle rebellions, quiet shifts in how you see yourself. You start by noticing when you're holding back, when you're smiling to be liked, when you're agreeing to avoid discomfort. Every time you catch it, you gain a bit more power back. Not over others, over yourself. That's where true strength starts. Machiavelli would say, "He who wishes to be obeyed must know how to command." But before you can command others, you must learn to command your own mind, your own responses, your own instincts. You stop being the puppet and become the puppeteer. And that takes psychological discipline. It means saying no when everything in you wants to people please. It means facing rejection without flinching. It means being okay with discomfort because you've chosen truth over harmony. Think about how you've been taught to define morality. Is it actually moral to stay silent when something is wrong? Is it really moral to keep sacrificing your needs to make others comfortable? Or is that just cowardice dressed as virtue? Real integrity doesn't mean being liked. It means staying aligned, even when it costs you approval. Machiavelli saw that power isn't given, it's taken. And that's not just political, that's deeply personal. How often do you give your power away in everyday life? When you stay quiet in a meeting even though you had something to say. When you say, it's fine, when it's really not. When you let someone disrespect you just to keep the peace. Those are all small surrenders. And over time, they turn into a life of quiet submission. That's not peace. That's psychological erosion. You've been programmed to be weak. But with the right logic, with Machiavellian clarity, you can undo it.